What's good, guys? Welcome back to Behind the Dugouts for your latest transfer news video. And we have been hit with a bombshell today. Could there be a world-class striker available? Are Chelsea on the verge of completing the double Dutch? And is Sesko finally going to get a move? We're going to cover it all right here, right now, starting with the latest on Ajax defender Xavi Hato. This is the latest on his situation. Chelsea have reached an agreement on personal terms with Xavi Hato, and the defender has asked to leave Ajax. Negotiations advancing to the final stages as a fee discussed now is around 40 million euros. Hato informed Ajax management and the manager of his clear desire to join Chelsea. Look, this is a position that we desperately need cover for. I do think this deal is going to be completed in the next few days. I don't see any way that this doesn't go through. The player clearly wants to come. He's now informed Ajax that he wants to make the move to Chelsea. So it's just going to be, discussion of the fee. And it's pretty much going to be one out the door, one in, with Renato Vega looking like he's going to make the move to Atletico for pretty much the exact same price. It's going to be Renato Vega out, and then that money is going to be put straight in to Xavi Hato, which he looks like a very promising young player, and it's the perfect time for him to come in to learn off a player like Cucurella. Cucurella just turned 27, Xavi Hato 19 years of age. He's got that time now to learn. I don't think it's going to be a similar situation with Renato Vega, where he's come in and 6 months later he's shipped out on loan and now being sold. I think Chelsea have a long-term plan for Hato to take over Cucurella, and they've given enough time for Cucurella to, if Cucurella gets to the age of 30, 31, in the next 4 or 5 years, Hato can learn under Cucurella, getting his chances, because he will get opportunities to play. He's not just coming in to sit on the bench and wait for Cucurella to get injured. He's going to get those opportunities in, the cups and probably in the Premier League at time, maybe to see out games. But so he will get minutes to develop his game. And Chelsea have looked at his versatility, his profile. He can play left back, he can play left centre back, so it provides that additional cover to Levi Colwill. It's going to be a great signing, I think, for Chelsea, and I do think within the next few days this one will be over the line. But love to hear your thoughts on Hato. Do you think he could be the long-term replacement for Cucurella? Now, as I mentioned, Chelsea could be on the verge of doing the double Dutch. His Dutch counterpart in Xavi Simons, we've had some further updates on this one, so this is the latest on Xavi Simons. Chelsea and RB Leipzig continue direct club-to-club talks with Xavi Simons' deal. RB Leipzig, aware of Xavi being very keen on the move and tempted by Chelsea. Bayern have made calls to inform this week, but Chelsea clear favourites already in talks and with players green light. Then we had RB Leipzig's asking price for Xavi Simons remains unchanged, 70 million euros, all in, including add-ons. They consider a fair and reasonable package. Bayern have gathered information from the player's side. Chelsea and Leipzig are indeed in contact, but as of this morning, no official offer has been submitted. Xavi is also training normally and without restrictions with Leipzig's squad this morning. He remains a full part of the training camp. Then we had this from Ben Jacobs. Carney Chukwuemeka has now been raised in the Xavi Simons talks, but he remains keen on return to Dortmund. Leipzig haven't made any contact with Chukwuemeka directly as of Tuesday morning. But yeah, this is a deal that I think is going to go through. Xavi clearly prefers the Premier League. He's given the green light for Chelsea. And we do have quite a good relationship with Leipzig with buying their players in the past. And the value that they have set for him, I think, is quite reasonable as stated. I think 70 million euros, including add-ons, is a fair price for Simons. But if we can get anything better on that, then, happy days. And his situation, the rumours around Simons has definitely heated up. It's advanced more so than the likes of the Morgan Rogers and the Garnacho deals, which have gone a bit quiet, which for the Garnacho situation, I'm quite happy with. Morgan Rogers is another player that I'd still like, but I think the Xavi Simons one is the route that we are going to go down, and it's clearly that it's advancing more than the Rogers, and I think that's just based on the price. I think Rogers is going to be outpriced with what Aston Villa are asking for, and Chelsea will see Xavi Simons as a cheaper alternative. but with the same quality, the same output, and can play in the same positions. So I think this is going to be a good deal if it was to get over the line. Another one that I don't think is going to take too long to get done. I think Chelsea are targeting Joel Hatto and Simmons to get done relatively quickly. So no, all in all, I think this could be a very, very good signing, and adding that another attacking option. We know Maresca has hinted at potentially playing two tens. So having a 10 of Cole Palmer and Xavi Simons to unlock defences with more creativity, more, different style of football, this could work really, really well and could create a very difficult scenario for teams to defend against, having two very creative, very versatile tens to just run ragged across the pitch. I think it could work very, very well. Now, there has been a bombshell drop today. Alexander Isak initially was pulled out of the squad because of a thigh injury. And it wasn't long, about 30 minutes after that information dropped, did we get this new information. So this is the latest on Alexander Isak. Breaking: Alexander Isak has informed Newcastle of his desire to explore a move this summer. Club aware of players' plans and will now decide how to move. Newcastle have already started exploring a move for a top striker in the market. Not going to lie, I did see this one coming. I think with all the rumours heating up and the potential move from Liverpool for Isak, and there has been some reports saying that if Isak was to sign a new deal with Newcastle, he would demand 300k a week, and Newcastle cannot match that. And though we talk a lot about players demanding too much, I think 300k a week, I think he's in his right to ask for that. He's done superb at Newcastle and has been under Haaland in terms of the best striker in the league, but he's got to be up there. He's one of the best strikers in the world and one of the best strikers in the Premier League. So I think it's fair for him to demand that kind of wage when a lot of strikers, same age, same quality, are demanding that type of wage. So I get that, and Newcastle's not in a situation in order to match that. And with Liverpool pressing the situation, and they have done for many, many weeks, or pretty much since the start of the window, that they were on the move for Isak and hoping to force Newcastle's hand. This situation was always going to happen, and though he hasn't put in a transfer request or asked specifically to leave, he's just checking his options, wanting to see what's out there. Newcastle still have to take this seriously, and they have to look for a replacement. I know they were interested in Ekatike, but Liverpool basically just came straight from underneath Newcastle and swiped Ekatike right in front of them. So they are going to be looking for a striker, and they definitely need to. Now, I have a proposition for this, and like many of the Chelsea fans at the moment are going, oh, Isak's available. Well, we have two potential players that could be very, very good for Newcastle in Nicholas Jackson and Christopher Nkunku, who, we could offer as part of the deal to give them a striker, because Newcastle desperately need a striker, and Chelsea could get the acquisition of Alexander Isak, which for me would make us title contenders hands down. However, unfortunately, I do have some news on this one. This is the latest on Isak and Chelsea. Chelsea have no interest in Isak deal. Full focus remains on Simons and Hato. Then we also had Chelsea not actively working on Alexander Isak deal, as no interest in proceeding despite reports. Very happy with their strikers and fully focused on Xavi Simons and Joel Hato's deal now. The club working on Isak deal was, is and remains Liverpool. Then we also had this from Ben Jacobs. Chelsea know their name is often used to drive up prices and refuse to be used as an auction tool for players that don't plan to bid for. No approach for Alexander Isak so far this summer. Their faith is in Liam Delap, João Pedro and Nicholas Jackson. The club is working on Xavi Simons and appreciate Garnacho and Morgan Rogers. So that pretty much confirms it, really. Chelsea are not going in for Isak. They never were going in for Isak. And they're happy with the current strikers that we do have. And I'm not going to say that I'm not happy. I'm definitely happy with the likes of João Pedro, Liam Delap, and I would be happy to still keep Nicholas Jackson as third choice. However, we're talking about Alexander Isak here. If I had the opportunity to sign him, I would definitely take him at the football club. And I understand from the club's perspective, they've just brought in these two new strikers in Liam Delap and João Pedro. And if they were to bring in Isak, it would probably upset the apple cart a little bit between those strikers as they've come in to try and make a name for themselves and be that starting number 9. However, if you bring in a player like Isak, it doesn't matter what those two players thought. He's going to come in and he's going to be that starting striker. Obviously, you've got the factor of it's going to be a hefty transfer fee. We're talking upwards of probably £120 million, and his wages are going to be around 300k, which we know from experience. Take the Osman deal, for instance, they're not going to pay that. They're just not going to. So it is pretty much dead in the water, which is unfortunate, and I would hate to see him go to Liverpool, but that just looks like the destination he is going to take. Now, there is another striker that is of interest to Newcastle, one that Arsenal were pursuing before moving to Victor Gyökeres, and that is Benjamin Šeško. This is the latest on Sesko. There's a gentleman agreement between Benjamin Šeško and RB Leipzig. The price tag for limited clubs could be reduced to the range of 70 to 80 million plus 5 to 10 million in add-ons. This is only valid for a few clubs considered special by Sesko. And then we had this from David Ornstein. Newcastle United exploring a move for Benjamin Šeško of RB Leipzig in case Isak leaves. 22-year-old forward subject of long-standing interest. A top target should Isak depart. Deal challenging from a financial perspective. Now, yes, it does state that it's going to be difficult financially for Newcastle. However, if they are going to sell Isak to potentially Liverpool or any other club for that matter, it's going to be upwards of £120 million. So it's not going to be tough for them to go out and get a player like Benjamin Šeško with, looking like between 70 and 80 million euros. They're going to have a chunk of change from the Isak deal. Another option for them is Nicholas Jackson, a player that is similar to Isak, not the same quality, not the same finishing, but same stylistically. And we know that they have been interested in Nicholas Jackson in the past, so I wouldn't put that out of your mind. That could still be a potential option for Newcastle. But just looking at the Sesko deal, it would be a good signing for, Sesko is a young striker. He's been doing it for a long time. He's been scoring goals and he's had a lot of interest from the big side. So I do expect if Newcastle are desperate for a striker, which they will be if Isak is going to leave, this would be a good signing for them. And I think Sesko would do quite well in the league. It's not a signing that I would think straight away would hit the ground running and is going to bag 20, 30 goals a season. It's going to take him time to adapt to the league. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be difficult, but there's a promising striker in there. And again, I don't want Liverpool to get Isak, but I feel it's inevitable with how long these rumours have been going on. And we've had the little battle between Newcastle and Ekitike, and Liverpool basically giving them an ultimatum. If you don't give us Isak, we're going to go get Ekitike. And now they've gone and done that. They're still coming after Isak, which has left Newcastle in quite a bit of a sticky situation. Now, Newcastle, my only thing I would say to you is if it is inevitable that Liverpool are going to come in and bid for Isak, please make sure that you rinse them for as much money as possible. I'm still annoyed with what they did with the Casado deal back in the day where, they were the whole reason we ended up paying so much more for that deal because they came in and increased it. So you have an opportunity here to get some revenge for us, which we will be so happy for. So please, if they do come in, make sure you get as much out of them as possible. But for now, guys, that is all from me. As I said, there's news dropping every single minute. I guarantee the moment I click stop record on this, there'll be something new that's dropped. But I will endeavour to get to all the transfer news as quickly as possible to inform you as best as I can. But for now, take care of yourself, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.